Hey guys, I just wanted to come on and have a live chat with everybody about this matchup today. Potro versus Nadal. I'm very, very excited about it. I think it's going to be a great match. I know certainly everybody was looking forward to Rafa versus Roger, and of course I was too. But I think that this is a great blockbuster matchup. I think this is something that we can all get behind, get excited about. Two very likable players, two players that are very passionate about their craft, and two great stories, two tremendous stories. What I love about today is just persistence and fight, and they both have it, right? And they both have the passion. They're both just so passionate. I'm really rooting for both players, and I'd be excited for either player. Roger Federer, I got the Fed hat here. He is my favorite player, but I love Rafa. I know a lot of people who they kind of pick sides. They either love Roger or they love Rafa, and they kind of wish the other one doesn't do so great because there's all these records that they're racing for. But I just really love and respect both players. I was lucky enough to go down to Cincinnati and watch Rafa play there, and got to ask him some questions. And I thought one thing that was very interesting that Rafa said is after he lost there, now that he's number one, he's so proud to be number one. And he didn't quite say it, but you kind of tell he felt it. He's like, but I haven't had the greatest hard court season. So when I go to the U.S. Open, because he had just lost to Nick Kyrgios when he made this statement, he's like, when I get to the U.S. Open, I'm going to really practice hard. I'm going to train hard, and I'm going to show why I'm number one. And so his motivation is through the roof. And Del Potro, who has been through so much with his wrist, and having these wins and having the crowd behind him, that he's got to be feeling that this may be, because obviously Roger and Rafa, they get to the semifinals and finals to it than Del Potro is. And that's the sad thing for Del Po is I think if Del Po would have been healthy through his career, he would have been seeing a lot of semifinals and finals in Grand Slam tournaments, and would certainly have more than one U.S. Open. So, that's another reason why I'd be excited if he won. But he's certainly got to be feeling that no matter how tired he is, no matter how drained he is from these matches he's had, that this might be the last time he gets to get to a final. I'm not saying that he's certainly not talented to do it again, but it doesn't come around that often for him. So it's going to be very, very exciting. I see we have some comments here. There's somebody who says, I'm still sad. I'm not happy. I understand that. Anderson versus Del Potro, that would be pretty good. Another one says Anderson versus Rafa. So certainly put your picks down there. Anderson hasn't been tested yet. I don't know how excited. I think Anderson's cool too. I don't know how excited everybody would be if Anderson won, just to be honest. I think that this tournament to really be memorable, and no offense to Anderson, but for this tournament to really be memorable, I think if Rafa won after not winning, so I think it's been 30-plus tournaments since he's won a hard court tournament. For Del Po to win, like, those are just fantastic stories. And everybody is passionate about those two players. One thing that they said is after, I think it was after the match, if you're a Roger fan, if Roger's your favorite, well, certainly Del Potro is kind of like everybody's favorite. And he is so easy to get behind. Besides everything he's been through, just the way he walks around and the way he talks, he's just got this really gentle persona about him. Or even though we know he's tough as nails, he comes off so gentle, down to earth, and nice. And so that's obviously very easy to get behind. So I'm excited for this match. I know that lots of people are disappointed today that we're not seeing Roger versus Rafa, and I certainly understand that. And leading up to this day, Roger and Rafa have probably been asked a million times about today's matchup. But let's get into what I think the keys are for success. And that certainly, as I'm talking here, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on, who will win, be done for each player to win. And I'm just going to give you my opinions on what needs to be done. Everybody is rooting for Delpo. Any Rafa fans? Rooting for Rafa. If I'm rooting for both, and I know that sounds like a real big cop-out, but I honestly will be excited for both. I really like both players. I think if either player won, it would make the U.S. Open a success. I think people would be excited about it. So I am rooting for both players. I really honestly am. Let's look at the tennis board here. I think it all is going to come down to court positioning. I think this match is going to come down to court positioning, and not even that. Let me just say the depth that Rafa is able to hit at here is the classic offensive big power thumper versus the ultimate counterpuncher, who's also, Rafa's a different animal of counterpuncher because he's amazing defensively, but his ball is just so vicious. Like when Rafa's on and he's got all those RPMs on it, and that ball kicks up at you, especially knowing that Delpo, because he's never been able to fully recover his wrist, a violent ball to have to deal with, especially when you know that it's coming from Rafa, who is an animal who's going to just be on you the whole match. He's going to wears his opponents down physically and mentally. And if his ball, let me just stand up here, if his ball is landing better, then he's going to, and if he can get a lot of balls to Del Potro's backhand, I think that he will win the match. I think that ultimately that will frustrate Del Potro and create some short balls, which Rafa's a great finisher. Once he keeps kicking these balls up at you and they end up landing short, Rafa's so good at running around his backhand and crushing forehands inside out and inside in. If he's able to do that, he will win the match. Ball, which we've seen, is landing shorter than Del Potro. The high ball bouncing up is a tall guy, and he really loves to take high balls and flatten them out. And no one out there has a bigger forehand than Del Potro. He's got an amazing, amazing forehand. Interesting to see. I think it's going to come down to that, really, because both players are going to fight extremely hard. Higher out, it will be Del Potro, obviously, because he's a taller guy, he's a bigger guy. But I think you don't want to count on that if you're a Rafa fan, because one thing that we've seen is when you think it's impossible for Del Potro to dig deeper, he keeps doing it. So I think if you're just waiting for Del Potro to tire out and give the match away, to do that, it may happen. It's certainly, he may run out on an empty tank, and certainly when you're playing Rafa, he can wear you down mentally and physically more than anybody out there. I think even more than Roger can. Roger can, I guess, make you just the match. When I hear people talk about playing Roger, they talk about that the match just goes so fast, that he's on you so fast, and it's just kind of overwhelming in how early Roger takes the ball and how he's just all over you, and that can intimidate you mentally. But Rafa, it's like a slow down, right? Rafa, if you're in there with a match with him, if you're just not getting wiped off the court, but if you're in the match, it starts to become a slow beat down. The perfect match was when he was playing the guy the other day, and he was 0 for 14 on break points, and then he finally got that one break. That was it. It was like that one break that Rafa finally got through, it was like a knockout. As of now, it looks like an all-Spanish final. It certainly could be an all-Spanish final. Very cool. Rafa surely in the final, no doubt, 100%. I'm a Fed head disappointed because we all miss, Fidel. That's good. I like that. Did Del Potro serve something like 95 PC first serves in the fourth set? I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question though. So we're seeing lots of things for both players. What do you guys think about the matchup? I think it's going to come down to, is Nadal going to be able to keep his ball deep? If Nadal keeps his ball deep, he will win and not get hurt. If Nadal is leaving his ball short, Del Potro has the perfect game. He is the prototype to frustrate players. It'd be an interesting stat to see, and maybe I should look this up. Rafa against players over 6'3" or something like that, because if Rafa's playing someone his height or shorter, I don't see him losing many matches unless he's playing Federer or Djokovic in his prime. Anybody his height or shorter, they're not going to be able to blow him off the court, and Rafa's able to get the ball over their shoulder height and wear them down physically and mentally. The people who do really well against Rafa are the taller people who don't mind the ball bouncing up so high. Throughout this tournament, if we see, like, let's say this is the backstop here, Rafa's almost returning at the backstop, and Uncle Tony was interviewed by Pam Shriver, I believe it was, and he says Rafa doesn't actually want to do that, kind of like a security blanket when he's not feeling confident. So look for how far Rafa stays back. Obviously, he's trying to buy time, but one of the things, if you're playing someone who's serving well, you're trying to buy more time. A more difficult task to cover angles on serves and also to get the ball back deep. So if he floats way back there, for him to get that first ball deep, and Del Potro may be able to really capitalize on that and thump those forehands and keep Rafa on defense for the whole entire point. So look for that as well. I think that's really what it comes down to. Obviously, physical conditioning, but I don't think, seeing what we saw so far from Del Potro, I think everybody thought, including me, like, how is he going to come back? He's going to be able to even complete the match against Dominic, right? Against Thiem, many players, many of the announcers were saying, like, Del Potro's going to be able to finish the match, and he's down 2-0, and then he battled back, and then when he won that match, everybody was saying, well, there's no way he can come back against Roger, certainly, and compete, because, Roger's Roger, and Del Potro, he's got to be tired. It was like a great effort, good tournament, and now let's get on to Roger and Rafa, right? But Del Potro showed, hey, for one match, I consistently have heart. So I don't look for him to just give it away because he's too tired. I think he will find a way to fight. He's so close to the finish line. And I would be thrilled, because Del Potro deserves, in my mind, to be a multiple Grand Slam winner. We know Rafa's got a ton, Roger's got a ton, Novak's got a ton. I think that Del Potro deserves more titles. And if he would not have gotten hurt as a young player, easily having 8 Grand Slams or more. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I mean, look at his game before he got hurt. It's still amazing, but he had a great serve. Actually, the serve back then was probably even weaker than it is today, but his serve's gotten better. His forehand is outrageous. His backhand, he used to hit. I don't know if you guys remember this. Del Potro used to hit backhand winners from anywhere on the court. So it goes to show how mentally strong this guy is, that he's basically playing with one hand. He's playing with one hand. And also, don't discredit what an effective shot the slice is. Everybody's like saying Del Potro has no backhand. Well, he can't come over the ball, but he hits a lot of beautiful slice backhands that enable him not to get attacked, and also creates errors. And then Del Potro's backhand is so good that what he can do, but unfortunately for him, he's got to slice this ball now, Nadal's forehand. That's not really a good thing. What he usually is able to do is slice it to someone's backhand, and then they leave up a weak ball in the middle of the court, and then Del Potro thumps a forehand. So that's going to be tough for Del Potro with his slice to find Rafa's backhand. It's going to go his forehand, and maybe if he's able to keep it low because Rafa's got a big grip, it'll be tough for him to rip those. But I don't think so. I think he'll be fine. Del Potro, right? Someone just mentioned Del Potro moves very well for a big guy. Absolutely. New York loves underdogs. I mean, a lot of people, we know that the Argentine contingent, they show up big time for Del Potro's match. So Del Potro is certainly not going to be short on fan support, but neither is Rafa. People love Rafa. And also, the older you get as a legend, support you get as well. So I think both people are going to be going crazy for them. Why don't more pro players take the ball early? Then it doesn't matter if the ball bounces high. Well, I hear what you're saying, but I think Rafa's ball is very hard to just routinely take early. You have to have amazing footwork and see it and know exactly where it's going to bounce to be able to take Rafa's ball consistently early. I think that's a different animal of ball that Rafa hits. I don't think I think it's a lot easier said than done. Yeah, fan support's been a huge thing. Del Potro said many times that he would not have won that match against Team if he didn't have all those fans. He probably would have been ready to pack it in with as bad as he was feeling. But he looked around and saw the fans, and he dug deep. He dug deep. So hopefully you guys are liking this video. If you like this video, certainly give it a thumbs up, and let's have a couple more. Guys, if I'm going to predict, I haven't predicted yet. This is a match I could see going either way. It's all about, I think, Rafa's ability to hit the ball deeper tonight. But if I had to absolutely pick who's going to win, Rafa. He's been there before. He really, really wants to win. He wants to prove why he's number one. As successful as Rafa's been, Rafa has been on a cold streak on the hard courts. He hasn't won a hard court tournament of significance in a long time. And so he definitely wants to show that he can do it again. He wants to show the world why he's number one. That's just not, he's a clay court specialist, that he is truly number one. And also, let's face it, Roger and Rafa have had a great year. They're competing for the history books. And if they go 2-2, where Roger has 2, Rafa has 2, and Rafa finishes the year at number one, well, Rafa then is still in that, I think, debate for greatest of all time. So there's a lot riding on the line for Rafa, and how Del Potro has felt through the years, because Rafa has not been short on injuries either. Del Potro is an inspiration with all the injuries he's been through, and since it's hurt his career so much, he hasn't won any more Grand Slams. About Del Potro, and his ailment is very obvious. He can't crush two-handed backhands anymore. So we see that it's very obvious. But Rafa has been through physically and so many injuries, and that they are both appreciating this moment equally, because they have both been just through it physically. So they are going to do everything in their might to win tonight, and that's what I love. And for both, I'm going to be rooting for both. I'm going to be happy for both. I'm going to be sad for the player who loses, and that's the kind of matchup where you just love tennis, right? Where you're just so proud of both players. You want both players to win, and then when one loses, you feel sad for them. Kind of like Venus and Sloane last night. It's like, I wanted both those ladies to win. And it was such beautiful tennis. And then at the end of it, I thought, you know what? The right person won, because Venus is a legend. She's had her time. She's still having her time. That would have been her third of the year. So I'm certainly not saying Venus is done. But you know what? It's Sloane's time. I would love to see Sloane, because I think she can be one of those players who can have multiple majors and be one of the people that you pass the torch down to, who can consistently get to semis and finals if she really puts it. Let's see. I sense Rafa is carrying a hip injury too. I don't know anything about that. It's not broadcast only free, but it's in fact very expensive. So you guys are looking up for online stuff, I guess, tonight. Anyway, prove that he's not a one-trick pony. I absolutely agree, and I hope he's not going to be a one-trick pony. I really would love to see Delpo get another major. He absolutely deserves it. And let's predict Sunday's final result. I don't know. I'm going to have to say Rafa. If I had to pick, I'd say Rafa's going to win the whole thing, and I'm going to go with Rafa versus Anderson, but certainly don't feel very strong about that. Matt Bradshaw said it very good. There is no real love, I guess. Look, that other semifinal is just not exciting to me. I hate to say it, but it just isn't. It just Matt said it very well when he says it feels like that other half of the draw is like a 250 event, and that's how I feel about it. I'm very excited about Rafa and Delpo, though. Very excited. If you're new to watching our channel, if you're watching this, definitely subscribe. I'm Pete from Crunch Time Coaching. Lots of tennis instruction here on anything you can think of, from doubles, singles, serving, volleying, forehands, backhands. Actually, next week we're going to get into a lot of doubles stuff. Are there any doubles players out there? You play some doubles, because we're going to get into some doubles content next week. No, Pete. What does that mean? No, Pete, what? Would be awesome if Delpo won the tournament, because it's his last chance. I'd rather have Rafa go versus Delpo in the finals. Free live streaming. That is it for me. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, so you can see all our tips, and certainly check out Matt's Coffee Break Tennis. I'm sure he'll have some more fun stuff to say. Tournament, and that is it. All those who predicted Roger winning the U.S., where are they? Well, get mad at them for predicting Roger winning. I mean, he won 2 majors this year and got to the final 8. All right, guys, you all take care.